Paper 34, The Local Universe Mother Spirit. When a Creator Son is personalized by the Universal Father and the Eternal Son, then does the Infinite Spirit individualize a new and unique representation of Himself to accompany this Creator Son to the realms of space, there to be His companion, first in physical organization and later in creation and ministry to the creatures of the newly projected universe. A creative spirit reacts to both physical and spiritual realities. So does a Creator Son, and thus are they coordinate and associate in the administration of a local universe of time and space. These daughter spirits are of the essence of the Infinite Spirit, but they cannot function in the work of physical creation and spiritual ministry simultaneously. In physical creation, the Universe Son provides the pattern, while the Universe Spirit initiates the materialization of physical realities. The Son operates in the power designs, but the Spirit transforms these energy creations into physical substances. Although it is somewhat difficult to portray this early universe presence of the Infinite Spirit as a person, nevertheless, to the Creator Son, the Spirit Associate is personal and has always functioned as a distinct individual. 1. Personalization of the Creative Spirit. After the completion of the physical organization of a starry and planetary cluster and the establishment of the energy circuits by the superuniverse power centers, subsequent to this preliminary work of creation by the agencies of the Infinite Spirit operating through and under the direction of His local universe creative focalization, there goes forth the proclamation of the Michael Son that life is next to be projected in the newly organized universe. Upon the Paradise recognition of this declaration of intention, there occurs a reaction of approval in the Paradise Trinity, followed by the disappearance in the spiritual shining of the deities, of the Master Spirit in whose super-universe this new creation is organizing. Meanwhile, the other Master Spirits draw near this central lodgment of the Paradise deities, and subsequently, when the deity-embraced Master Spirit emerges to the recognition of his fellows, there occurs what is known as a primary eruption. This is a tremendous spiritual flash, a phenomenon clearly discernible as far away as the headquarters of the super-universe concerned. And simultaneously with this little understood Trinity manifestation, there occurs a marked change in the nature of the creative spirit, presence, and power of the Infinite Spirit, resident in the local universe concerned. In response to these Paradise phenomena, there immediately personalizes, in the very presence of the Creator Son, a new personal representation of the Infinite Spirit. This is the Divine Minister. The individualized creative spirit helper of the Creator Son has become His personal creative associate, the local universe Mother Spirit. From and through this new personal segregation of the conjoint Creator, there proceed the established currents and the ordained circuits of spirit power and spiritual influence destined to pervade all the worlds and beings of that local universe. In reality, this new and personal presence is but a transformation of the pre-existent and less personal associate of the Son in his earlier work of physical universe organization. This is the relation of a stupendous drama in few words, but it represents about all that can be told regarding these momentous transactions. They are instantaneous, inscrutable, and incomprehensible. The secret of the technique and procedure resides in the bosom of the Paradise Trinity. Of only one thing are we certain: the spirit presence in the local universe during the time of purely physical creation or organization was incompletely differentiated from the spirit of the Paradise Infinite Spirit, whereas after the reappearance of the supervising Master Spirit from the secret embrace of the gods and following the flash of spiritual energy, the local universe manifestation of the infinite spirit suddenly and completely changes to the personal likeness of that master spirit who was in transmuting liaison with the infinite spirit. The local universe mother spirit thus acquires a personal nature tinged by that of the master spirit of the super-universe of astronomic jurisdiction. This personalized presence of the infinite spirit, the creative mother spirit of the local universe, is known in Satania as the divine minister. To all practical intents and spiritual purposes, this manifestation of deity is a divine individual, a spirit person, and she is so recognized and regarded by the Creator Son. It is through this localization and personalization of the third source and center in our local universe that the Spirit could subsequently become so fully subject to the Creator's Son that of this Son it was truly said, "All power in heaven and on earth has been entrusted to him." 2. Nature of the Divine Minister. Having undergone marked personality metamorphosis at the time of life creation, the divine minister thereafter functions as a person and cooperates in a very personal manner with the Creator Son in the planning and management of the extensive affairs of their local creation. To many universe types of being, even this representation of the infinite spirit may not appear to be wholly personal during the ages preceding the final Michael bestowal. But subsequent to the elevation of the Creator's Son to the sovereign authority of a Master Son, the creative Mother Spirit becomes so augmented in personal qualities as to be personally recognized by all contacting individuals. From the earliest association with the Creator Son, the universe spirit possesses all the physical control attributes of the infinite spirit, including the full endowment of anti-gravity. Upon the attainment of personal status, the universe spirit exerts just as full and complete control of mind gravity in the local universe as would the infinite spirit if personally present. In each local universe, the divine minister functions in accordance with the nature and inherent characteristics of the infinite spirit as embodied in one of the 7 master spirits of paradise. While there is a basic uniformity of character in all universe spirits, there is also a diversity of function determined by their origin through one of the 7 master spirits. This differential of origin accounts for the diverse techniques in the function of the local universe mother spirits in different superuniverses. But in all essential spiritual attributes, these spirits are identical, equally spiritual, and wholly divine, irrespective of superuniverse differentiation. The creative spirit is co-responsible with the Creator's Son in producing the creatures of the worlds, and never fails the Son in all efforts to uphold and conserve these creations. Life is ministered and maintained through the agency of the creative spirit. You send forth your spirit, and they are created. You renew the face of the earth. In the creation of a universe of intelligent creatures, the creative mother spirit functions first in the sphere of universe perfection, collaborating with the sun in the production of the bright and morning star. Subsequently, the offspring of the spirit increasingly approach the order of created beings on the planets, even as the suns grade downward from the Melchizedeks to the material suns, who actually contact with the mortals of the realms. In the later evolution of mortal creatures, the life-carrier suns provide the physical body, fabricated out of the existing organized material of the realm, while the universe spirit contributes the breath of life. While the 7th segment of the grand universe may, in many respects, be tardy in development, thoughtful students of our problems look forward to the evolution of an extraordinarily well-balanced creation in the ages to come. We predict this high degree of symmetry in Orvantan because the presiding spirit of this superuniverse is the chief of the master spirits on high, being a spirit intelligence embodying the balanced union and perfect coordination of the traits and character of all three of the eternal deities. We are tardy and backward in comparison with other sectors, but there undoubtedly awaits us a transcendent development and an unprecedented achievement sometime in the eternal ages of the future. 3. The Son and Spirit in Time and Space. Neither the eternal Son nor the infinite Spirit is limited or conditioned by either time or space, but most of their offspring are. The infinite Spirit pervades all space and indwells the circle of eternity. Still, in their personal contact with the children of time, the personalities of the infinite Spirit must often reckon with temporal elements, though not so much with space. Many mind ministries ignore space, but suffer a time lag in effecting coordination of diverse levels of universe reality. A solitary messenger is virtually independent of space, except that time is actually required in traveling from one location to another, and there are similar entities unknown to you. In personal prerogatives, a creative spirit is wholly and entirely independent of space, but not of time. There is no specialized personal presence of such a universe spirit on either the constellation or system headquarters. She is equally and diffusely present throughout her entire local universe, and is therefore just as literally and personally present on one world as on any other. Only as regards the element of time is a creative spirit ever limited in her universe ministrations. A creator's Son acts instantaneously throughout his universe, but the creative spirit must reckon with time in the ministration of the universal mind, except as she consciously and designedly avails herself of the personal prerogatives of the universe Son. In pure spirit function, the creative spirit also acts independently of time, as well as in her collaboration with the mysterious function of universe reflectivity. Though the spirit gravity circuit of the eternal Son operates independently of both time and space, all functions of the Creator Sons are not exempt from space limitations. If the transactions of the evolutionary worlds are accepted, these Michael Sons seem to be able to operate relatively independent of time. A Creator Son is not handicapped by time, but he is conditioned by space. He cannot personally be in two places at the same time. Michael of Nebadon acts timelessly within his own universe, and by reflectivity practically so in the super-universe. He communicates timelessly with the eternal Son directly. The divine minister is the understanding helper of the Creator Son, enabling him to overcome and atone for his inherent limitations regarding space. For when these two function in administrative union, they are practically independent of time and space within the confines of their local creation. Therefore, as practically observed throughout a local universe, the Creator's Son and the creative spirit usually function independently of both time and space, since there is always available to each the time and the space liberation of the other. Only absolute beings are independent of time and space in the absolute sense. The majority of the subordinate persons of both the Eternal Son and the Infinite Spirit are subject to both time and space. When a creative spirit becomes space-conscious, she is preparing to recognize a circumscribed space domain as hers, a realm in which to be space-free, in contradistinction to all other space by which she would be conditioned. One is free to choose and act only within the realm of one's consciousness. 4. The local universe circuits. There are 3 distinct spirit circuits in the local universe of Nebadon. 1. the bestowal spirit of the Creator Son, the Comforter, the Spirit of Truth. 2. The Spirit Circuit of the Divine Minister, the Holy Spirit. 3. The Intelligence Ministry Circuit, including the more or less unified activities but diverse functioning of the 7 adjutant mind spirits. The Creator Sons are endowed with a spirit of universe presence in many ways analogous to that of the 7 master spirits of paradise. This is the Spirit of Truth, which is poured out upon a world by a bestowal Son after he receives spiritual title to such a sphere. This bestowed Comforter is the spiritual force which ever draws all truth seekers towards Him who is the personification of truth in the local universe. This spirit is an inherent endowment of the Creator Son, emerging from His divine nature, just as the master circuits of the grand universe are derived from the personality presences of the paradise deities. The Creator Son may come and go. His personal presence may be in the local universe or elsewhere, yet the Spirit of Truth functions undisturbed, for this divine presence, while derived from the personality of the Creator Son, is functionally centered in the person of the Divine Minister. The Universe Mother Spirit, however, never leaves the local universe headquarters world. The Spirit of the Creator Son may and does function independently of the personal presence of the Son, but not so with her personal spirit. The Holy Spirit of the Divine Minister would become non-functional if her personal presence should be removed from Salvington. Her spirit presence seems to be fixed on the universe headquarters world, and it is this very fact that enables the Spirit of the Creator Son to function independently of the whereabouts of the Son. The Universe Mother Spirit acts as the universe focus and center of the Spirit of Truth, as well as of her own personal influence, the Holy Spirit. The Creator Father Son and the Creative Mother Spirit both contribute variously to the mind endowment of their local universe children. But the Creative Spirit does not bestow mind until she is endowed with personal prerogatives. The super-evolutionary orders of personality in a local universe are endowed with the local universe type of the super-universe pattern of mind. The human and subhuman orders of evolutionary life are endowed with the adjutant spirit types of mind ministration. The 7 adjutant mind spirits are the creation of the divine minister of a local universe. These mind spirits are similar in character but diverse in power, and all partake alike of the nature of the universe spirit, although they are hardly regarded as personalities apart from their mother creator. The 7 adjutants have been given the following names: the Spirit of Wisdom, the Spirit of Worship, the Spirit of Counsel, the Spirit of Knowledge, the Spirit of Courage, the Spirit of Understanding, the Spirit of Intuition, of quick perception. These are the 7 spirits of God, like lamps burning before the throne, which the prophet saw in the symbols of vision. But he did not see the seats of the 24 sentinels about these 7 adjutant mind spirits. This record represents the confusion of 2 presentations, one pertaining to the universe headquarters and the other to the system capital. The seats of the 24 elders are on Jerusalem, the headquarters of your local system of inhabited worlds. But it was of Salvington that John wrote, "And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices." The universe broadcasts to the local systems. He also envisaged the directional control creatures of the local universe, the living compasses of the headquarters world. This directional control in Nebadon is maintained by the 4 control creatures of Salvington, who operate over the universe currents and are ably assisted by the first functioning mind spirit, the adjutant of intuition, the spirit of quick understanding. But the description of these four creatures, called beasts, has been sadly marred. They are of unparalleled beauty and exquisite form. The 4 points of the compass are universal and inherent in the life of Nebadon. All living creatures possess bodily units which are sensitive and responsive to these directional currents. These creature creations are duplicated on down through the universe to the individual planets and, in conjunction with the magnetic forces of the worlds, so activate the hosts of microscopic bodies in the animal organism that these direction cells ever point north and south. Thus is the sense of orientation forever fixed in the living beings of the universe. This sense is not wholly wanting as a conscious possession by mankind. These bodies were first observed on Urantia about the time of this narration. 5. The Ministry of the Spirit. The divine minister cooperates with the Creator's Son in the formulation of life and the creation of new orders of beings up to the time of his 7th bestowal, and subsequently, after his elevation to the full sovereignty of the universe, continues to collaborate with the Son and the Son's bestowed Spirit in the further work of world ministry and planetary progression. On the inhabited worlds, the Spirit begins the work of evolutionary progression, starting with the lifeless material of the realm, first endowing vegetable life, then the animal organisms, then the first orders of human existence, and each succeeding impartation contributes to the further unfolding of the evolutionary potential of planetary life, from the initial and primitive stages to the appearance of will creatures. This labor of the Spirit is largely effected through the 7 adjutants, the spirits of promise, the unifying and coordinating spirit mind of the evolving planets, ever and unitedly leading the races of men towards higher ideas and spiritual ideals. Mortal man first experiences the ministry of the Spirit in conjunction with mind when the purely animal mind of evolutionary creatures develops reception capacity for the adjutants of worship and of wisdom. This ministry of the 6th and 7th adjutants indicates mind evolution crossing the threshold of spiritual ministry. And immediately are such minds of worship and wisdom function included in the spiritual circuits of the divine minister. When mind is thus endowed with the ministry of the Holy Spirit, it possesses the capacity for, consciously or unconsciously, choosing the spiritual presence of the Universal Father, the Thought Adjuster. But it is not until a bestowal Son has liberated the Spirit of Truth for planetary ministry to all mortals that all normal minds are automatically prepared for the reception of the Thought Adjusters. The Spirit of Truth works as one with the presence of the Spirit of the Divine Minister. This dual spirit liaison hovers over the worlds, seeking to teach truth and to spiritually enlighten the minds of men, to inspire the souls of the creatures of the ascending races, and to lead the peoples dwelling on the evolutionary planets ever towards their paradise goal of divine destiny. Though the Spirit of Truth is poured out upon all flesh, this Spirit of the Son is almost wholly limited in function and power by man's personal reception of that which constitutes the sum and substance of the mission of the bestowal Son. The Holy Spirit is partly independent of human attitude and partially conditioned by the decisions and cooperation of the will of man. Nevertheless, the ministry of the Holy Spirit becomes increasingly effective in the sanctification and spiritualization of the inner life of those mortals who the more fully obey the divine leadings. As individuals, you do not personally possess a segregated portion or entity of the Spirit of the Creator Father Son or the Creative Mother Spirit. These ministries do not contact with nor indwell the thinking centers of the individual's mind as do the mystery monitors. Thought adjusters are definite individualizations of the pre-personal reality of the Universal Father, actually indwelling the mortal mind as a very part of that mind, and they ever work in perfect harmony with the combined spirits of the Creator Son and Creative Spirit. The presence of the Holy Spirit of the Universe Daughter of the Infinite Spirit, of the Spirit of Truth of the Universe Son of the Eternal Son, and of the Adjuster Spirit of the Paradise Father in or with an evolutionary mortal, denotes symmetry of spiritual endowment and ministry, and qualifies such a mortal consciously to realize the faith fact of sonship with God. 6. The Spirit in Man. With the advancing evolution of an inhabited planet and the further spiritualization of its inhabitants, additional spiritual influences may be received by such mature personalities. As mortals progress in mind control and spirit perception, these multiple spirit ministries become more and more coordinate in function. They become increasingly blended with the over-ministry of the Paradise Trinity. Although divinity may be plural in manifestation, in human experience, deity is singular, always one. Neither is spiritual ministry plural in human experience. Regardless of plurality of origin, all spirit influences are one in function. Indeed, they are one, being the spirit ministry of God the Sevenfold in and to the creatures of the grand universe. And as creatures grow in appreciation of and receptivity for this unifying ministry of the Spirit, it becomes in their experience the ministry of God the Supreme. From the heights of eternal glory, the Divine Spirit descends by a long series of steps to meet you as you are and where you are, and then, in the partnership of faith, lovingly to embrace the soul of mortal origin and to embark on the sure and certain retracement of those steps of condescension, never stopping until the evolutionary soul is safely exalted to the very heights of bliss from which the Divine Spirit originally sallied forth on this mission of mercy and ministry. Spiritual forces unerringly seek and attain their own original levels. Having gone out from the eternal, they are certain to return thereto, bringing with them all those children of time and space who have espoused the leading and teaching of the indwelling Adjuster, those who have been truly born of the Spirit, the faith sons of God. The Divine Spirit is the source of continual ministry and encouragement to the children of men. Your power and achievement is according to His mercy through the renewing of the Spirit. Spiritual life, like physical energy, is consumed. Spiritual effort results in relative spiritual exhaustion. The whole ascendant experience is real as well as spiritual. Therefore, it is truly written, "It is the Spirit that quickens. The Spirit gives life." The dead theory of even the highest religious doctrines is powerless to transform human character or to control mortal behavior. What the world of today needs is the truth which your teacher of old declared, not in word only, but also in power and in the Holy Spirit. The seed of theoretical truth is dead, the highest moral concepts without effect, unless and until the Divine Spirit breathes upon the forms of truth and quickens the formulas of righteousness. Those who have received and recognized the indwelling of God have been born of the Spirit. You are the temple of God, and the Spirit of God dwells in you. It is not enough that this Spirit be poured out upon you. The Divine Spirit must dominate and control every phase of human experience. It is the presence of the Divine Spirit, the water of life that prevents the consuming thirst of mortal discontent and that indescribable hunger of the unspiritualized human mind. Spirit-motivated beings never thirst, for this spiritual water shall be in them a well of satisfaction, springing up into life everlasting. Such divinely watered souls are all but independent of material environment as regards the joys of living and the satisfactions of earthly existence. They are spiritually illuminated and refreshed, morally strengthened and endowed. In every mortal there exists a dual nature, the inheritance of animal tendencies and the high urge of spirit endowment. During the short life you live on Urantia, these two diverse and opposing urges can seldom be fully reconciled. They can hardly be harmonized and unified, but throughout your lifetime the combined spirit ever ministers to assist you in subjecting the flesh more and more to the leading of the spirit. Even though you must live your material life through, even though you cannot escape the body and its necessities, nonetheless, in purpose and ideals, you are empowered increasingly to subject the animal nature to the mastery of the spirit. There truly exists within you a conspiracy of spiritual forces, a confederation of divine powers whose exclusive purpose is to effect your final deliverance from material bondage and finite handicaps. The purpose of all this ministration is that you may be strengthened with power through His Spirit in the inner man. And all this represents but the preliminary steps to the final attainment of the perfection of faith and service, that experience wherein you shall be filled with all the fullness of God. For all those who are led by the Spirit of God are the sons of God. The Spirit never drives, only leads. If you are a willing learner, if you want to attain spirit levels and reach divine heights, if you sincerely desire to reach the eternal goal, then the Divine Spirit will gently and lovingly lead you along the pathway of sonship and spiritual progress. Every step you take must be one of willingness, intelligent and cheerful cooperation. The domination of the Spirit is never tainted with coercion nor compromised by compulsion. And when such a life of Spirit guidance is freely and intelligently accepted, there gradually develops within the human mind a positive consciousness of divine contact and assurance of Spirit communion. Sooner or later, the Spirit bears witness with your spirit, the adjuster, that you are a child of God. Already has your own thought adjuster told you of your kinship to God, so that the record testifies that the Spirit bears witness with your spirit, not to your spirit. The consciousness of the spirit domination of a human life is presently attended by an increasing exhibition of the characteristics of the Spirit in the life reactions of such a Spirit-led mortal. For the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and temperance. Such Spirit-guided and divinely illuminated mortals, while they yet tread the lowly paths of toil and in human faithfulness perform the duties of their earthly assignments, have already begun to discern the lights of eternal life as they glimmer on the faraway shores of another world. Already have they begun to comprehend the reality of that inspiring and comforting truth: the kingdom of God is not meat and drink, but righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Spirit. And throughout every trial, and in the presence of every hardship, Spirit-born souls are sustained by that hope which transcends all fear, because the love of God is shed abroad in all hearts by the presence of the Divine Spirit. 7. The Spirit and the Flesh. The flesh, the inherent nature derived from the animal origin races, does not naturally bear the fruits of the divine spirit. When the mortal nature has been upstepped by the addition of the nature of the material sons of God, as the Urantia races were in a measure advanced by the bestowal of Adam, then is the way better prepared for the Spirit of truth to cooperate with the indwelling adjuster to bring forth the beautiful harvest of the character fruits of the Spirit. If you do not reject this Spirit, even though eternity may be required to fulfill the commission, He will guide you into all truth. Evolutionary mortals inhabiting normal worlds of spiritual progress do not experience the acute conflicts between the spirit and the flesh which characterize the present-day Urantia races. But even on the most ideal planets, pre-Adamic man must put forth positive efforts to ascend from the purely animalistic plane of existence up through successive levels of increasingly intellectual meanings and higher spiritual values. The mortals of a normal world do not experience constant warfare between their physical and spiritual natures. They are confronted with the necessity of climbing up from the animal levels of existence to the higher planes of spiritual living. But this ascent is more like undergoing an educational training when compared with the intense conflicts of Urantia mortals in this realm of the divergent material and spiritual natures. The Urantia peoples are suffering the consequences of a double deprivation of help in this task of progressive planetary spiritual attainment. The Caligastia upheaval precipitated worldwide confusion and robbed all subsequent generations of the moral assistance which a well-ordered society would have provided. But even more disastrous was the Adamic default, in that it deprived the races of that superior type of physical nature which would have been more consonant with spiritual aspirations. Urantia mortals are compelled to undergo such marked struggling between the spirit and the flesh because their remote ancestors were not more fully atomized by the Edenic bestowal. It was the divine plan that the mortal races of Urantia should have had physical natures more naturally spirit-responsive. Notwithstanding this double disaster to man's nature and his environment, present-day mortals would experience less of this apparent warfare between the flesh and the spirit if they would enter the spirit kingdom, wherein the faith sons of God enjoy comparative deliverance from the slave bondage of the flesh in the enlightened and liberating service of wholehearted devotion to doing the will of the Father in heaven. Jesus showed mankind the new way of mortal living, whereby human beings may very largely escape the dire consequences of the Caligastic rebellion and most effectively compensate for the deprivations resulting from the Adamic default. The spirit of the life of Christ Jesus has made us free from the law of animal living and the temptations of evil and sin. This is the victory that overcomes the flesh, even your faith. Those God-knowing men and women who have been born of the Spirit experience no more conflict with their mortal natures than do the inhabitants of the most normal of worlds, planets which have never been tainted with sin nor touched by rebellion. Faith's sons work on intellectual levels and live on spiritual planes far above the conflicts produced by unrestrained or unnatural physical desires. The normal urges of animal beings and the natural appetites and impulses of the physical nature are not in conflict with even the highest spiritual attainment, except in the minds of ignorant, mistaught, or unfortunately over-conscientious persons. Having started out on the way of life everlasting, having accepted the assignment and received your orders to advance, do not fear the dangers of human forgetfulness and mortal inconstancy. Do not be troubled with doubts of failure or by perplexing confusion. Do not falter and question your status and standing. For in every dark hour, At every crossroad in the forward struggle, the Spirit of Truth will always speak, saying, "This is the way."
Presented by a mighty messenger temporarily assigned to service on Urantia.
Paper 35. The Local Universe Sons of God. The sons of God, previously introduced, have had a paradise origin. They are the offspring of the divine rulers of the universal domains. Of the first paradise order of sonship, the Creator sons, there is in Nebadon only one, Michael, the universe father and sovereign. Of the second order of paradise sonship, the Avenal or magisterial sons, Nebadon has its full quota, 1062. And these lesser Christs are just as effective and all-powerful in their planetary bestowals as was the Creator and Master Son on Urantia. The third order, being of Trinity origin, do not register in a local universe, but I estimate there are in Nebadon between 15 and 20,000 Trinity teacher sons, exclusive of 9,642 creature trinitized assistants of record. These paradise Danals are neither magistrates nor administrators. They are super teachers. The types of sons about to be considered are of local universe origin. They are the offspring of a paradise creator son in varied association with the complemental universe mother spirit. The following orders of local universe sonship find mention in these narratives. 1. Melchizedek sons. 2. Vorondadek sons. 3. Lananandek sons. 4. Life carrier sons. Triune paradise deity functions for the creation of three orders of sonship, the Michaels, the Avenals, and the Danals. Dual deity in the local universe, the Son and the Spirit, also functions in the creation of three high orders of sons, the Melchizedeks, the Vorondadeks, and the Lananandeks. And having achieved this threefold expression, they collaborate with the next level of God, the sevenfold, in the production of the versatile order of life carriers. These beings are classified with the descending sons of God, but they are a unique and original form of universe life. Their consideration will occupy the whole of the next paper. 1. The Father Melchizedek. After bringing into existence the beings of personal aid, such as the bright and morning star and other administrative personalities, in accordance with the divine purpose and creative plans of a given universe, there occurs a new form of creative union between the Creator Son and the Creative Spirit, the local universe daughter of the Infinite Spirit. The personality offspring resulting from this creative partnership is the original Melchizedek, the Father Melchizedek, that unique being who subsequently collaborates with the Creator Son and the Creative Spirit to bring into existence the entire group of that name. In the universe of Nebadon, the Father Melchizedek acts as the first executive associate of the bright and morning star. Gabriel is occupied more with universe policies, Melchizedek with practical procedures. Gabriel presides over the regularly constituted tribunals and councils of Nebadon, Melchizedek over the special, extraordinary, and emergency commissions and advisory bodies. Gabriel and the Father Melchizedek are never away from Salvington at the same time, for in Gabriel's absence the Father Melchizedek functions as the chief executive of Nebadon. The Melchizedeks of our universe were all created within one millennial period of standard time by the Creator Son and the Creative Spirit, in liaison with the Father Melchizedek. Being an order of sonship wherein one of their own number functioned as coordinate creator, Melchizedeks are in constitution partly of self-origin, and therefore candidates for the realization of a supernal type of self-government. They periodically elect their own administrative chief for a term of 7 years of standard time, and otherwise function as a self-regulating order, though the original Melchizedek does exercise certain inherent co-parental prerogatives. From time to time, this Father Melchizedek designates certain individuals of his order to function as special life carriers to the Midsonite worlds, a type of inhabited planet not heretofore revealed on Urantia. The Melchizedeks do not function extensively outside the local universe, except when they are called as witnesses in matters pending before the tribunals of the superuniverse, and when designated special ambassadors, as they sometimes are, representing one universe to another in the same superuniverse. The original or firstborn Melchizedek of each universe is always at liberty to journey to the neighboring universes or to paradise on missions having to do with the interests and duties of his order. 2. The Melchizedek Sons. The Melchizedeks are the first order of divine sons to approach sufficiently near the lower creature life to be able to function directly in the ministry of mortal uplift, to serve the evolutionary races without the necessity of incarnation. These sons are naturally at the midpoint of the great personality descent, by origin being just about midway between the highest divinity and the lowest creature life of will endowment. They thus become the natural intermediaries between the higher and divine levels of living existence and the lower, even the material forms of life on the evolutionary worlds. The seraphic orders, the angels, delight to work with the Melchizedeks. In fact, all forms of intelligent life find in these sons understanding friends, sympathetic teachers, and wise counselors. The Melchizedeks are a self-governing order. With this unique group, we encounter the first attempt at self-determination on the part of local universe beings and observe the highest type of true self-government. These sons organize their own machinery for their group and home planet administration, as well as that for the 6 associated spheres and their tributary worlds. And it should be recorded that they have never abused their prerogatives. Not once throughout all the superuniverse of Avanton have these Melchizedek sons ever betrayed their trust. They are the hope of every universe group which aspires to self-government. They are the pattern and the teachers of self-government to all the spheres of Nebadon. All orders of intelligent beings, superiors from above and subordinates from below, are wholehearted in their praise of the government of the Melchizedeks. The Melchizedek order of sonship occupies the position and assumes the responsibility of the eldest son in a large family. Most of their work is regular and somewhat routine, but much of it is voluntary and altogether self-imposed. A majority of the special assemblies which, from time to time, convene on Salvington are called on motion of the Melchizedeks. On their own initiative, these sons patrol their native universe. They maintain an autonomous organization devoted to universe intelligence, making periodical reports to the Creator Sun independent of all information coming up to universe headquarters through the regular agencies concerned with the routine administration of the realm. They are by nature unprejudiced observers. They have the full confidence of all classes of intelligent beings. The Melchizedeks function as mobile and advisory review courts of the realms. These universe sons go in small groups to the worlds to serve as advisory commissions, to take depositions, to receive suggestions, and to act as counselors, thus helping to compose the major difficulties and settle the serious differences which arise from time to time in the affairs of the evolutionary domains. These eldest sons of a universe are the chief aids of the bright and morning star in carrying out the mandates of the Creator Sun. When a Melchizedek goes to a remote world in the name of Gabriel, he may, for the purposes of that particular mission, be deputized in the name of the sender, and in that event will appear on the planet of assignment with the full authority of the bright and morning star. Especially is this true on those spheres where a higher sun has not yet appeared in the likeness of the creatures of the realm. When a Creator Sun enters upon the bestowal career on an evolutionary world, he goes alone. But when one of his paradise brothers, an Avenal son, enters upon a bestowal, he is accompanied by the Melchizedek supporters, 12 in number, who so efficiently contribute to the success of the bestowal mission. They also support the paradise Avenals on magisterial missions to the inhabited worlds, and in these assignments the Melchizedeks are visible to mortal eyes if the Avenal sun is also thus manifest. There is no phase of planetary spiritual need to which they do not minister. They are the teachers who so often win whole worlds of advanced life to the final and full recognition of the Creator Sun and his Paradise Father. The Melchizedeks are well nigh perfect in wisdom, but they are not infallible in judgment. When detached and alone on planetary missions, they have sometimes erred in minor matters. That is, they have elected to do certain things which their supervisors did not subsequently approve. Such an error of judgment temporarily disqualifies a Melchizedek until he goes to Salvington and, in audience with the Creator Son, receives that instruction which effectually purges him of the disharmony which caused disagreement with his fellows. And then, following the correctional rest, reinstatement to service ensues on the third day. But these minor misadaptations in Melchizedek function have rarely occurred in Nebadon. These sons are not an increasing order. Their number is stationary, although varying in each local universe. The number of Melchizedeks of record on their headquarters planet in Nebadon is upward of 10 million. 3. The Melchizedek Worlds. The Melchizedeks occupy a world of their own near Salvington, the universe headquarters. This sphere, by name Melchizedek, is the pilot world of the Salvington circuit of 70 primary spheres, each of which is encircled by 6 tributary spheres devoted to specialized activities. These marvelous spheres, 70 primaries and 420 tributaries, are often spoken of as the Melchizedek University. Ascending mortals from all the constellations of Nebadon pass through training on all 490 worlds in the acquirement of residential status on Salvington. But the education of ascenders is only one phase of the manifold activities taking place on the Salvington cluster of architectural spheres. The 490 spheres of the Salvington circuit are divided into 10 groups, each containing 7 primary and 42 tributary spheres. Each of these groups is under the general supervision of some one of the major orders of universe life. The first group, embracing the pilot world and the next 6 primary spheres in the encircling planetary procession, is under the supervision of the Melchizedeks. These Melchizedek worlds are 1. The pilot world, the home world of the Melchizedek sons. 2. The world of the physical life schools and the laboratories of living energies. 3. The world of Urantia life. 4. The sphere of initial spirit life. 5. The world of mid-spirit life. 6. The sphere of advancing spirit life. 7. The domain of coordinate and supreme self-realization. The 6 tributary worlds of each of these Melchizedek spheres are devoted to activities germane to the work of the associated primary sphere. The pilot world, the sphere Melchizedek, is the common meeting ground for all beings who are engaged in educating and spiritualizing the ascending mortals of time and space. To an ascender, this world is probably the most interesting place in all Nebadon. All evolutionary mortals who graduate from their constellation training are destined to land on Melchizedek, where they are initiated into the regime of the disciplines and spirit progression of the Salvington educational system. And never will you forget your reactions to the first day of life on this unique world, not even after you have reached your paradise destination. Ascending mortals maintain residence on the Melchizedek world while pursuing their training on the 6 encircling planets of specialized education. And this same method is adhered to throughout their sojourn on the 70 cultural worlds, the primary spheres of the Salvington circuit. Many diverse activities occupy the time of the numerous beings who reside on the 6 tributary worlds of the Melchizedek sphere, but as concerns the ascending mortals, these satellites are devoted to the following special phases of study. 1. Sphere number 1 is occupied with the review of the initial planetary life of the ascending mortals. This work is carried on in classes composed of those who hail from a given world of mortal origin. Those from Urantia pursue such an experiential review together. 2. The special work of sphere number 2 consists in a similar review of the experiences passed through on the mansion worlds encircling the premier satellite of the local system headquarters. 3. The reviews of this sphere pertain to the sojourn on the capital of the local system and embrace the activities of the remainder of the architectural worlds of the system headquarters cluster. 4. The 4th sphere is occupied with a review of the experiences of the 70 tributary worlds of the constellation and of their associated spheres. 5. On the fifth sphere, there is conducted the review of the ascendant sojourn on the constellation headquarters world. 6. The time on sphere number 6 is devoted to an attempt to correlate these 5 epochs and thus achieve coordination of experience preparatory to entering the Melchizedek primary schools of universe training. The schools of universe administration and spiritual wisdom are located on the Melchizedek home world, where also are to be found those schools devoted to a single line of research, such as energy, matter, organization, communication, records, ethics, and comparative creature existence. In the Melchizedek College of Spiritual Endowment, all orders, even the Paradise orders, of the sons of God, cooperate with the Melchizedek and the seraphic teachers in training the hosts who go forth as evangels of destiny, proclaiming spiritual liberty and divine sonship even to the remote worlds of the universe. This particular school of the Melchizedek University is an exclusive universe institution. Student visitors are not received from other realms. The highest course of training in universe administration is given by the Melchizedeks on their home world. This college of high ethics is presided over by the original Father Melchizedek. It is to these schools that the various universes send exchange students. While the young universe of Nebadon stands low in the scale of universes as regards spiritual achievement and high ethical development, nevertheless, our administrative troubles have so turned the whole universe into a vast clinic for other nearby creations that the Melchizedek colleges are thronged with student visitors and observers from other realms. Besides the immense group of local registrants, there are always upward of 100,000 foreign students in attendance upon the Melchizedek schools, for the order of Melchizedeks in Nebadon is renowned throughout all Splandon. 4. Special work of the Melchizedeks. A highly specialized branch of Melchizedek activities has to do with the supervision of the progressive Urantia career of the ascending mortals. Much of this training is conducted by the patient and wise seraphic ministers, assisted by mortals who have ascended to relatively higher levels of universe attainment, but all of this educational work is under the general supervision of the Melchizedeks in association with the Trinity teacher sons. While the Melchizedek orders are chiefly devoted to the vast educational system and experiential training regime of the local universe, they also function in unique assignments and in unusual circumstances. In an evolving universe, eventually embracing approximately 10 million inhabited worlds, many things out of the ordinary are destined to happen, and it is in such emergencies that the Melchizedeks act. On Urantia, your constellation headquarters, they are known as emergency sons. They are always ready to serve in all exigencies, physical, intellectual, or spiritual, whether on a planet, in a system, in a constellation, or in the universe. Whenever and wherever special help is needed, there you will find one or more of the Melchizedek sons. When failure of some feature of the creature son's plan is threatened, forthwith will go a Melchizedek to render assistance. But not often are they summoned to function in the presence of sinful rebellion, such as occurred in Satania. The Melchizedeks are the first to act in all emergencies of whatever nature on all worlds where will creatures dwell. They sometimes act as temporary custodians on wayward planets, serving as receivers of a defaulting planetary government. In a planetary crisis, these Melchizedek sons serve in many unique capacities. It is easily possible for such a son to make himself visible to mortal beings, and sometimes one of this order has even incarnated in the likeness of mortal flesh. 7 times in Nebadon has a Melchizedek served on an evolutionary world in the similitude of mortal flesh, and on numerous occasions these sons have appeared in the likeness of other orders of universe creatures. They are indeed the versatile and volunteer emergency ministers to all orders of universe intelligences and to all the worlds and systems of worlds. The Melchizedek who lived on Urantia during the time of Abraham was locally known as Prince of Salem, because he presided over a small colony of truth-seekers residing at a place called Salem. He volunteered to incarnate in the likeness of mortal flesh, and did so with the approval of the Melchizedek receivers of the planet, who feared that the light of life would become extinguished during that period of increasing spiritual darkness. And he did foster the truth of his day and safely pass it on to Abraham and his associates. 5. The Vorondadek Sons. After the creation of the personal aids and the first group of the versatile Melchizedeks, the Creator Son and the local universe creative spirit planned for and brought into existence the second great and diverse order of universe sonship, the Vorondadeks. They are more generally known as constellation fathers because a son of this order is uniformly found at the head of each constellation government in every local universe. The number of Vorondadeks varies in each local universe, just 1 million being the recorded number in Nebadon. These sons, like their coordinates, the Melchizedeks, possess no power of reproduction. There exists no known method whereby they can increase their numbers. In many respects, these sons are a self-governing body. As individuals and as groups, even as a whole, they are largely self-determinative, much as are the Melchizedeks, but Vorondadeks do not function through such a wide range of activities. They do not equal their Melchizedek brethren in brilliant versatility, but they are even more reliable and efficient as rulers and far-seeing administrators. Neither are they quite the administrative peers of their subordinates, the Lanonandek system sovereigns, but they excel all orders of universe sonship in stability of purpose and in divinity of judgment. Although the decisions and rulings of this order of sons are always in accordance with the spirit of divine sonship and in harmony with the policies of the Creator Son, they have been cited for error to the Creator Son, and in details of technique their decisions have sometimes been reversed on appeal to the superior tribunals of the universe. But these sons rarely fall into error, and they have never gone into rebellion. Never in all the history of Nebadon has a Vorondadek been found in contempt of the universe government. The service of the Vorondadeks in the local universes is extensive and varied. They serve as ambassadors to other universes and as consuls representing constellations within their native universe. Of all orders of local universe sonship, they are the most often entrusted with the full delegation of sovereign powers to be exercised in critical universe situations. On those worlds segregated in spiritual darkness, those spheres which have, through rebellion and default, suffered planetary isolation, an observer Vorondadek is usually present pending the restoration of normal status. In certain emergencies, this most high observer could exercise absolute and arbitrary authority over every celestial being assigned to that planet. It is of record on Salvington that the Vorondadeks have sometimes exercised such authority as most high regents of such planets, and this has also been true even of inhabited worlds that were untouched by rebellion. Often a corps of 12 or more Vorondadek sons sits en banc as a high court of review and appeal concerning special cases involving the status of a planet or a system. But their work more largely pertains to the legislative functions indigenous to the constellation governments. As a result of all these services, the Vorondadek sons have become the historians of the local universes. They are personally familiar with all the political struggles and the social upheavals of the inhabited worlds. 6. The Constellation Fathers. At least 3 Vorondadeks are assigned to the rulership of each of the 100 constellations of a local universe. These sons are selected by the Creator Son and are commissioned by Gabriel as the Most Highs of the constellations for service during 1 decamillennium, 10,000 standard years, about 50,000 years of Urantia time. The reigning Most High, the Constellation Father, has 2 associates, a senior and a junior. At each change of administration, the senior associate becomes the head of the government. The junior assumes the duties of the senior, while the unassigned Vorondadeks resident on the Salvington worlds nominate one of their number as candidate for selection to assume the responsibilities of junior associate. Thus, each of the Most High rulers, in accordance with present policy, has a period of service on the headquarters of a constellation of 3 decamillenniums, about 150,000 Urantia years. The 100 constellation fathers, the actual presiding heads of the constellation governments, constitute the supreme advisory cabinet of the Creator Son. This council is in frequent session at universe headquarters and is unlimited in the scope and range of its deliberations, but is chiefly concerned with the welfare of the constellations and with the unification of the administration of the entire local universe. When a constellation father is in attendance upon duties at the universe headquarters, as he frequently is, the senior associate becomes acting director of constellation affairs. The normal function of the senior associate is the oversight of spiritual affairs, while the junior associate is personally occupied with the physical welfare of the constellation. No major policy, however, is ever carried out in a constellation unless all three of the Most Highs are agreed upon all the details of its execution. The entire mechanism of spirit intelligence and communication channels is at the disposal of the constellation Most Highs. They are in perfect touch with their superiors on Salvington and with their direct subordinates, the sovereigns of the local systems. They frequently convene in council with these system sovereigns to deliberate upon the state of the constellation. The Most Highs surround themselves with a corps of councillors, which varies in number and personnel from time to time in accordance with the presence of the various groups at constellation headquarters, and also as the local requirements vary. During times of stress, they may ask for, and will quickly receive, additional sons of the Verandadek order to assist with the administrative work. Norlashadek, your own constellation, is at present administered by 12 Verandadek sons. 7. The Verandadek Worlds. The second group of 7 worlds in the circuit of 70 primary spheres surrounding Salvington comprise the Verandadek planets. Each of these spheres, with its 6 encircling satellites, is devoted to a special phase of Verandadek activities. On these 49 realms, the ascending mortals secure the acme of their education respecting universe legislation. The ascending mortals have observed the legislative assemblies as they functioned on the headquarters worlds of the constellations, but here on these Verandadek worlds they participate in the enactment of the actual general legislation of the local universe under the tutelage of the senior Verandadeks. Such enactments are designed to coordinate the varied pronouncements of the autonomous legislative assemblies of the 100 constellations. The instruction to be had in the Verandadek schools is unexcelled even on Uversa. This training is progressive, extending from the first sphere with supplemental work on its 6 satellites on up through the remaining 6 primary spheres and their associated satellite groups. The ascending pilgrims will be introduced to numerous new activities on these worlds of study and practical work. We are not forbidden to undertake the revelation of these new and undreamed-of pursuits, but we despair of being able to portray these undertakings to the material mind of mortal beings. We are without words to convey the meanings of these supernal activities, and there are no analogous human engagements which might be utilized as illustrations of these new occupations of the ascending mortals as they pursue their studies on these 49 worlds. And many other activities, not a part of the ascendant regime, are centered on these Verandadek worlds of the Salvington circuit. 8. The Lanonandek Sons. After the creation of the Verandadeks, the Creator Sun and the Universe Mother Spirit unite for the purpose of bringing into existence the third order of universe sonship, the Lanonandeks. Although occupied with varied tasks connected with the system administrations, they are best known as system sovereigns, the rulers of the local systems, and as planetary princes, the administrative heads of the inhabited worlds. Being a later and lower, as concerns divinity levels, order of sonship creation, these beings were required to pass through certain courses of training on the Melchizedek worlds in preparation for subsequent service. They were the first students in the Melchizedek University and were classified and certified by their Melchizedek teachers and examiners according to ability, personality, and attainment. The universe of Nebadan began its existence with exactly 12 million Lanonandeks, and when they had passed through the Melchizedek sphere, they were divided in the final tests into 3 classes. 1. Primary Lanonandeks. Of the highest rank, there were 709,841. These are the sons designated as system sovereigns and assistants to the supreme councils of the constellations and as counselors in the higher administrative work of the universe. 2. Secondary Lanonandeks. Of this order emerging from Melchizedek, there were 10,234,601. They are assigned as planetary princes and to the reserves of that order. 3. Tertiary Lananandex. This group contained 1,055,558. These sons function as subordinate assistants, messengers, custodians, commissioners, observers, and prosecute the miscellaneous duties of a system and its component worlds. It is not possible, as it is with evolutionary beings, for these sons to progress from one group to another. When subjected to the Melchizedek training, when once tested and classified, they serve continuously in the rank assigned. Neither do these sons engage in reproduction. Their number in the universe is stationary. In round numbers, the Lananandek order of sons is classified on Salvington as follows. Universe coordinators and constellation counselors, 100,000. System sovereigns and assistants, 600,000. Planetary princes and reserves, 10 million. Messenger corps, 400,000. Custodians and recorders, 100,000. Reserve corps, 800,000. Since Lananandeks are a somewhat lower order of sonship than the Melchizedeks and the Varandadeks, they are of even greater service in the subordinate units of the universe, for they are capable of drawing nearer the lower creatures of the intelligent races. They also stand in greater danger of going astray, of departing from the acceptable technique of universe government. But these Lananandeks, especially the primary order, are the most able and versatile of all local universe administrators. In executive ability they are excelled only by Gabriel and his unrevealed associates. 9. The Lananandek rulers. The Lananandeks are the continuous rulers of the planets and the rotating sovereigns of the systems. Such a son now rules on Jerusalem, the headquarters of your local system of inhabited worlds. The system sovereigns rule in commissions of 2 or 3 on the headquarters of each system of inhabited worlds. The constellation Father names one of these Lananandeks as chief every decamillennium. Sometimes no change in the head of the trio is made, the matter being entirely optional with the constellation rulers. System governments do not suddenly change in personnel unless a tragedy of some sort occurs. When system sovereigns or assistants are recalled, their places are filled by selections made by the Supreme Council located on the constellation headquarters from the reserves of that order, a group which is larger on Edentia than the average indicated. The Supreme Lananandek Councils are stationed on the various constellation headquarters. Such a body is presided over by the senior Most High Associate of the Constellation Father, while the junior associate supervises the reserves of the secondary order. The system sovereigns are true to their names. They are well nigh sovereign in the local affairs of the inhabited worlds. They are almost paternal in their direction of the planetary princes, the material sons, and the ministering spirits. The personal grasp of the sovereign is all but complete. These rulers are not supervised by Trinity observers from the central universe. They are the executive division of the local universe, and as custodians of the enforcement of legislative mandates and as executives for the application of judicial verdicts, they present the one place in all universe administration where personal disloyalty to the will of the Michael Sun could most easily and readily entrench itself and seek to assert itself. Our local universe has been unfortunate in that over 700 sons of the Lananandek order have rebelled against the universe government, thus precipitating confusion in several systems and on numerous planets. Of this entire number of failures, only 3 were system sovereigns. Practically all of these sons belong to the second and third orders, planetary princes and tertiary Lananandeks. The large numbers of these sons who have lapsed from integrity does not indicate any fault in creatorship. They could have been made divinely perfect, but they were so created that they might better understand and draw near to the evolutionary creatures dwelling on the worlds of time and space. Of all the local universes in Ovanton, our universe has, with the exception of Henselon, lost the largest number of this order of sons. On Uversa, it is the consensus that we have had so much administrative trouble in Nebadon because our sons of the Lananandek order have been created with such a large degree of personal liberty in choosing and planning. I do not make this observation by way of criticism. The Creator of our universe has full authority and power to do this. It is the contention of our high rulers that, while such free-choosing sons make excessive trouble in the earlier ages of the universe, when things are fully sifted and finally settled, the gains of higher loyalty and fuller volitional service on the part of these thoroughly tested sons will far more than compensate for the confusion and tribulations of earlier times. In the event of rebellion on a system headquarters, a new sovereign is usually installed within a comparatively short time, but not so on the individual planets. They are the component units of the material creation, and creature free will is a factor in the final adjudication of all such problems. Successor planetary princes are designated for isolated worlds, planets whose princes of authority may have gone astray, but they do not assume active rulership of such worlds until the results of insurrection are partially overcome and removed by the remedial measures adopted by the Melchizedeks and other ministering personalities. Rebellion by a planetary prince instantly isolates his planet. The local spiritual circuits are immediately severed. Only a bestowal son can re-establish interplanetary lines of communication on such a spiritually isolated world. There exists a plan for saving these wayward and unwise sons, and many have availed themselves of this merciful provision, but never again may they function in those positions wherein they defaulted. After rehabilitation, they are assigned to custodial duties and to departments of physical administration. 10. The Lananandek Worlds. The third group of 7 worlds in the Salvington circuit of 70 planets, with their respective 42 satellites, constitute the Lananandek cluster of administrative spheres. On these realms, the experienced Lananandeks belonging to the X-System Sovereign Corps officiate as administrative teachers of the ascending pilgrims and the seraphic hosts. The evolutionary mortals observe the system administrators at work on the system capitals, but here they participate in the actual coordination of the administrative pronouncements of the 10,000 local systems. These administrative schools of the local universe are supervised by a corps of Lananandek sons who have had long experience as system sovereigns and as constellation counselors. These executive colleges are excelled only by the administrative schools of ENSA. While serving as training spheres for ascending mortals, the Lananandek worlds are the centers for extensive undertakings having to do with the normal and routine administrative operations of the universe. All the way into paradise, the ascending pilgrims pursue their studies in the practical schools of applied knowledge, actual training in really doing the things they are being taught. The universe educational system sponsored by the Melchizedeks is practical, progressive, meaningful, and experiential. It embraces training in things material, intellectual, morontial, and spiritual. It is in connection with these administrative spheres of the Lananandeks that most of the salvaged sons of that order serve as custodians and directors of planetary affairs. And these defaulting planetary princes and their associates in rebellion who choose to accept the proffered rehabilitation will continue to serve in these routine capacities, at least until the universe of Nebadan is settled in light and life. Many of the Lananandek sons in the older systems, however, have established wonderful records of service, administration, and spiritual achievement. They are a noble, faithful, and loyal group, notwithstanding their tendency to fall into error through fallacies of personal liberty and fictions of self-determination.
Sponsored by the Chief of Archangels acting by authority of Gabriel of Salvington.
Paper 36. The Life Carriers. Life does not originate spontaneously. Life is constructed according to plans formulated by the unrevealed architects of being, and appears on the inhabited planets either by direct importation or as a result of the operations of the life carriers of the local universes. These carriers of life are among the most interesting and versatile of the diverse family of universe sons. They are entrusted with designing and carrying creature life to the planetary spheres, and after planting this life on such new worlds, they remain there for long periods to foster its development. 1. Origin and nature of life carriers. Though the life carriers belong to the family of divine sonship, They are a peculiar and distinct type of universe sons, being the only group of intelligent life in a local universe in whose creation the rulers of a super-universe participate. The life carriers are the offspring of three pre-existent personalities: the Creator's Son, the Universe Mother Spirit, and by designation, one of the three Ancients of Days presiding over the destinies of the super-universe concerned. These Ancients of Days, who alone can decree the extinction of intelligent life, participate in the creation of the life carriers, who are entrusted with establishing physical life on the evolving worlds. In the universe of Nebadon, we have on record the creation of 100 million life carriers. This efficient corps of life disseminators is not a truly self-governing group. They are directed by the life-determining trio, consisting of Gabriel, the Father Melchizedek, and Nambia, the original and firstborn life carrier of Nebadon. But in all phases of their divisional administration, they are self-governing. Life carriers are graded into three grand divisions. The first division is the senior life carriers, the second, assistants, and the third, custodians. The primary division is subdivided into 12 groups of specialists in the various forms of life manifestation. The segregation of these three divisions was effected by the Melchizedeks, who conducted tests for such purposes on the life carrier's headquarters sphere. The Melchizedeks have ever since been closely associated with the life carriers and always accompany them when they go forth to establish life on a new planet. When an evolutionary planet is finally settled in light and life, the life carriers are organized into the higher deliberative bodies of advisory capacity to assist in the further administration and development of the world and its glorified beings. In the later and settled ages of an evolving universe, these life carriers are entrusted with many new duties. 2. The life carrier worlds. The Melchizedeks have the general oversight of the fourth group of 7 primary spheres in the Salvington Circuit. These worlds of the life carriers are designated as follows: 1. The life carrier headquarters. 2. The life planning sphere. 3. The life conservation sphere. 4. The sphere of life evolution. 5. The sphere of life associated with mind. 6. The sphere of mind and spirit in living beings. 7. The sphere of unrevealed life. Each of these primary spheres is surrounded by 6 satellites, on which the special phases of all the life carrier activities in the universe are centered. World number 1, the headquarters sphere, together with its 6 tributary satellites, is devoted to the study of universal life, life in all of its known phases of manifestation. Here is located the College of Life Planning, wherein function teachers and advisors from Uversa and Havona, even from Paradise. And I am permitted to reveal that the 7 central emplacements of the adjutant mind spirits are situated on this world of the life carriers. The number 10, the decimal system, is inherent in the physical universe, but not in the spiritual. The domain of life is characterized by 3, 7, and 12, or by multiples and combinations of these basic numbers. There are 3 primal and essentially different life plans, after the order of the 3 paradise sources and centers, and in the universe of Nebadon, these 3 basic forms of life are segregated on 3 different types of planets. There were originally 12 distinct and divine concepts of transmissible life. This number 12, with its subdivisions and multiples, runs throughout all basic life patterns of all 7 superuniverses. There are also 7 architectural types of life design, fundamental arrangements of the reproducing configurations of living matter. The Orvanton life patterns are configured as 12 inheritance carriers. The differing orders of will creatures are configured as 12, 24, 48, 96, 192, 384, and 768. On Urantia, there are 48 units of pattern control, trait determiners, in the sex cells of human reproduction. The second world is the life designing sphere. Here, all new modes of life organization are worked out. While the original life designs are provided by the Creator's Son, the actual outworking of these plans is entrusted to the life carriers and their associates. When the general life plans for a new world have been formulated, they are transmitted to the headquarters sphere, where they are minutely scrutinized by the Supreme Council of the senior life carriers in collaboration with a corps of consulting Melchizedeks. If the plans are a departure from previously accepted formulas, they must be passed upon and endorsed by the Creator's Son. The Chief of Melchizedeks often represents the Creator's Son in these deliberations. Planetary life, therefore, while similar in some respects, differs in many ways on each evolutionary world. Even in a uniform life series in a single family of worlds, life is not exactly the same on any two planets. There is always a planetary type, for the life carriers work constantly in an effort to improve the vital formulas committed to their keeping. There are over 1 million fundamental or cosmic chemical formulas which constitute the parent patterns and the numerous basic functional variations of life manifestations. Satellite number 1 of the life planning sphere is the realm of the universe physicists and electrochemists who serve as technical assistants to the life carriers in the work of capturing, organizing, and manipulating the essential units of energy which are employed in building up the material vehicles of life transmission, the so-called germ plasm. The planetary life planning laboratories are situated on the second satellite of this world number 2. In these laboratories, the life carriers and all their associates collaborate with the Melchizedeks in the effort to modify and possibly improve the life designed for implantation on the decimal planets of Nebadon. The life now evolving on Urantia was planned and partially worked out on this very world, for Urantia is a decimal planet, a life experiment world. On one world in each 10, a greater variance in the standard life designs is permitted than on the other non-experimental worlds. World number 3 is devoted to the conservation of life. Here, various modes of life protection and preservation are studied and developed by the assistants and custodians of the Life Carrier Corps. The life plans for every new world always provide for the early establishment of the Life Conservation Commission, consisting of custodian specialists in the expert manipulation of the basic life patterns. On Urantia, there were 24 such custodian commissioners, 2 for each fundamental or parent pattern of the architectural organization of the life material. On planets such as yours, the highest form of life is reproduced by a life-carrying bundle, which possesses 24 pattern units. And since the intellectual life grows out of and upon the foundation of the physical, there come into existence the 24 basic orders of psychic organization. Sphere number 4 and its tributary satellites are devoted to the study of the evolution of creature life in general, and to the evolutionary antecedents of any one life level in particular. The original life plasm of an evolutionary world must contain the full potential for all future developmental variations and for all subsequent evolutionary changes and modifications. The provision for such far-reaching projects of life metamorphosis may require the appearance of many apparently useless forms of animal and vegetable life. Such byproducts of planetary evolution, foreseen or unforeseen, appear upon the stage of action only to disappear. But in and through all this long process, there runs the thread of the wise and intelligent formulations of the original designers of the planetary life plan and species scheme. The manifold byproducts of biologic evolution are all essential to the final and full function of the higher intelligent forms of life, notwithstanding that great outward disharmony may prevail from time to time in the long upward struggle of the higher creatures to effect the mastery of the lower forms of life, many of which are sometimes so antagonistic to the peace and comfort of the evolving will creatures. Number 5 world is concerned wholly with life associated with mind. Each of its satellites is devoted to the study of a single phase of creature mind, correlated with creature life. Mind, such as man comprehends, is an endowment of the 7 adjutant mind spirits superimposed on the non-teachable or mechanical levels of mind by the agencies of the infinite spirit. The life patterns are variously responsive to these adjutants and to the different spirit ministries operating throughout the universes of time and space. The capacity of material creatures to effect spirit response is entirely dependent on the associated mind endowment, which in turn has directionized the course of the biologic evolution of these same mortal creatures. World number 6 is dedicated to the correlation of mind with spirit as they are associated with living forms and organisms. This world and its 6 tributaries embrace the schools of creature coordination, wherein teachers from both the central universe and the super-universe collaborate with the Nebadon instructors in presenting the highest levels of creature attainment in time and space. The 7th sphere of the life carriers is dedicated to the unrevealed domains of evolutionary creature life as it is related to the cosmic philosophy of the expanding factualization of the Supreme Being. 3. Life transplantation. Life does not spontaneously appear in the universes. The life carriers must initiate it on the barren planets. They are the carriers, disseminators, and guardians of life as it appears on the evolutionary worlds of space. All life of the order and forms known on Urantia arises with these suns, though not all forms of planetary life are existent on Urantia. The corps of life carriers commissioned to plant life upon a new world usually consists of 100 senior carriers, 100 assistants, and 1,000 custodians. The life carriers often carry actual life plasm to a new world, but not always. They sometimes organize the life patterns after arriving on the planet of assignment in accordance with formulas previously approved for a new adventure in life establishment. Such was the origin of the planetary life of Urantia. When in accordance with approved formulas the physical patterns have been provided, then do the life carriers catalyze this lifeless material, imparting through their persons the vital spirit spark, and forthwith do the inert patterns become living matter. The vital spark, the mystery of life, is bestowed through the life carriers, not by them. They do indeed supervise such transactions. They formulate the life plasm itself. But it is the universe Mother Spirit who supplies the essential factor of the living plasm. From the creative daughter of the infinite spirit comes that energy spark which enlivens the body and presages the mind. In the bestowal of life, the life carriers transmit nothing of their personal natures, not even on those spheres where new orders of life are projected. At such times they simply initiate and transmit the spark of life, start the required revolutions of matter in accordance with the physical, chemical, and electrical specifications of the ordained plans and patterns. Life carriers are living catalytic presences which agitate, organize, and vitalize the otherwise inert elements of the material order of existence. The life carriers of a planetary core are given a certain period in which to establish life on a new world, approximately 500,000 years of the time of that planet. At the termination of this period, indicated by certain developmental attainments of the planetary life, they cease implantation efforts, and they may not subsequently add anything new or supplemental to the life of that planet. During the ages intervening between life establishment and the emergence of human creatures of moral status, the life carriers are permitted to manipulate the life environment and otherwise favorably directionize the course of biologic evolution. And this they do for long periods of time. When the life carriers operating on a new world have once succeeded in producing a being with will, with the power of moral decision and spiritual choice, then and there their work terminates. They are through. They may manipulate the evolving life no further. From this point forward, the evolution of living things must proceed in accordance with the endowment of the inherent nature and tendencies which have already been imparted to and established in the planetary life formulas and patterns. The life carriers are not permitted to experiment or to interfere with will. They are not allowed to dominate or arbitrarily influence moral creatures. Upon the arrival of a planetary prince, they prepare to leave, though 2 of the senior carriers and 12 custodians may volunteer by taking temporary renunciation vows to remain indefinitely on the planet as advisors in the matter of the further development and conservation of the life plasm. 2 such sons and their 12 associates are now serving on Urantia. 4. Melchizedek Life Carriers. In every local system of inhabited worlds throughout Nebadon, there is a single sphere whereon the Melchizedeks have functioned as life carriers. These abodes are known as the system Midsonite worlds, and on each of them a materially modified Melchizedek son has mated with a selected daughter of the material order of sonship. The mother Eves of such Midsonite worlds are dispatched from the system headquarters of jurisdiction, having been chosen by the designated Melchizedek life carrier from among the numerous volunteers who respond to the call of the system sovereign addressed to the material daughters of his sphere. The progeny of a Melchizedek life carrier and a material daughter are known as Midsoniters. The Melchizedek father of such a race of supernal creatures eventually leaves the planet of his unique life function, and the mother Eve of this special order of universe beings also departs upon the appearance of the 7th generation of planetary offspring. The direction of such a world then devolves upon her eldest son. The Midsonite creatures live and function as reproducing beings on their magnificent worlds until they are 1,000 standard years of age, whereupon they are translated by seraphic transport. Midsoniters are non-reproducing beings thereafter, because the technique of dematerialization which they pass through in preparation for enseraphiming forever deprives them of reproductive prerogatives. The present status of these beings can hardly be reckoned as either mortal or immortal. Neither can they be definitely classified as human or divine. These creatures are not a juster indwelt, hence hardly immortal, but neither do they seem to be mortal. No Midsoniter has experienced death. All Midsoniters ever born in Nebadon are alive today, functioning on their native worlds, on some intervening sphere, or on the Salvington Midsonite sphere in the Finaliters group of worlds. The Salvington worlds of the Finaliters. The Melchizedek life carriers, as well as the associated Mother Eves, go from the system Midsonite spheres to the Finaliters worlds of the Salvington circuit, where their offspring are also destined to foregather. It should be explained in this connection that the 5th group of 7 primary worlds in the Salvington circuit are the Nebadon worlds of the Finaliters. The children of the Melchizedek life carriers and the material daughters are domiciled on the 7th world of the Finaliters, the Salvington Midsonite sphere. The satellites of the 7 primary worlds of the Finaliters are the rendezvous of the personalities of the super and central universes, who may be executing assignments in Nebadon. While the ascending mortals go about freely on all of the cultural worlds and training spheres of the 490 worlds comprising the Melchizedek University, there are certain special schools and numerous restricted zones which they are not permitted to enter. This is especially true of the 49 spheres under the jurisdiction of the Finaliters. The purpose of the Midsonite creatures is not at present known, but it would appear that these personalities are foregathering on the 7th Finaliter world in preparation for some future eventuality in universe evolution. Our inquiries concerning the Midsonite races are always referred to the phonalators, and always do the phonalators decline to discuss the destiny of their wards. Regardless of our uncertainty as to the future of the Midsoniters, we do know that every local universe in Orvantan harbors such an accumulating core of these mysterious beings. It is the belief of the Melchizedek life carriers that their Midsonite children will someday be endowed with the transcendental and eternal spirit of obscenity by God the Ultimate. 5. The 7 Adjutant Mind Spirits. It is the presence of the 7 adjutant mind spirits on the primitive worlds that conditions the course of organic evolution. That explains why evolution is purposeful and not accidental. These adjutants represent that function of the mind ministry of the infinite spirit which is extended to the lower orders of intelligent life through the operations of a local universe mother spirit. The adjutants are the children of the universe mother spirit and constitute her personal ministry to the material minds of the realms. Wherever and whenever such mind is manifest, these spirits are variously functioning. The 7 adjutant mind spirits are called by names, which are the equivalents of the following designations: intuition, understanding, courage, knowledge, counsel, worship, and wisdom. These mind spirits send forth their influence into all the inhabited worlds as a differential urge, each seeking receptivity capacity for manifestation quite apart from the degree to which its fellows may find reception and opportunity for function. The central lodgements of the adjutant spirits on the life carrier headquarters world indicate to the life carrier supervisors the extent and quality of the mind function of the adjutants on any world and in any given living organism of intellect status. These life-mind emplacements are perfect indicators of living mind function for the first 5 adjutants. But with regard to the 6th and 7th adjutant spirits, worship and wisdom, these central lodgements record only a qualitative function. The quantitative activity of the adjutant of worship and the adjutant of wisdom is registered in the immediate presence of the divine minister on Salvington, being a personal experience of the universe mother spirit. The 7 adjutant mind spirits always accompany the life carriers to a new planet, but they should not be regarded as entities. They are more like circuits. The spirits of the 7 universe adjutants do not function as personalities apart from the universe presence of the divine minister. They are, in fact, a level of consciousness of the divine minister, and are always subordinate to the action and presence of their creative mother. We are handicapped for words adequately to designate these 7 adjutant mind spirits. They are ministers of the lower levels of experiential mind, and they may be described in the order of evolutionary attainment as follows. 1. The spirit of intuition, quick perception, the primitive physical and inherent reflex instincts, the directional and other self-preservative endowments of all mind creations. The only one of the adjutants to function so largely in the lower orders of animal life, and the only one to make extensive functional contact with the non-teachable levels of mechanical mind. 2. The spirit of understanding, the impulse of coordination, the spontaneous and apparently automatic association of ideas. This is the gift of the coordination of acquired knowledge, the phenomenon of quick reasoning, rapid judgment, and prompt decision. 3. The spirit of courage, the fidelity endowment in personal beings, the basis of character acquirement, and the intellectual root of moral stamina and spiritual bravery. When enlightened by facts and inspired by truth, this becomes the secret of the urge of evolutionary ascension by the channels of intelligent and conscientious self-direction. 4. The spirit of knowledge, the curiosity mother of adventure and discovery, the scientific spirit, the guide and faithful associate of the spirits of courage and counsel, the urge to direct the endowments of courage into useful and progressive paths of growth. 5. The spirit of counsel, the social urge, the endowment of species cooperation, the ability of will creatures to harmonize with their fellows, the origin of the gregarious instinct among the more lowly creatures. 6. The spirit of worship, the religious impulse, the first differential urge separating mind creatures into the two basic classes of mortal existence. The spirit of worship forever distinguishes the animal of its association from the soulless creatures of mind endowment. Worship is the badge of spiritual ascension candidacy. 7. The spirit of wisdom, the inherent tendency of all moral creatures towards orderly and progressive evolutionary advancement. This is the highest of the adjutants, the spirit coordinator and articulator of the work of all the others. This spirit is the secret of that inborn urge of mind creatures which initiates and maintains the practical and effective program of the ascending scale of existence, that gift of living things which accounts for their inexplicable ability to survive and, in survival, to utilize the coordination of all their past experience and present opportunities for the acquisition of all of everything, that all of the other 6 mental ministers can mobilize in the mind of the organism concerned. Wisdom is the acme of intellectual performance. Wisdom is the goal of a purely mental and moral existence. The adjutant mind spirits experientially grow, but they never become personal. They evolve in function, and the function of the first 5 in the animal orders is to a certain extent essential to the function of all 7 as human intellect. This animal relationship makes the adjutants more practically effective as human mind. Hence, animals are to a certain extent indispensable to man's intellectual as well as to his physical evolution. These mind adjutants of a local universe mother spirit are related to creature life of intelligence status, much as the power centers and physical controllers are related to the non-living forces of the universe. They perform invaluable service in the mind circuits on the inhabited worlds, and are effective collaborators with the master physical controllers, who also serve as controllers and directors of the pre-adjutant mind levels, the levels of non-teachable or mechanical mind. Living mind prior to the appearance of capacity to learn from experience is the ministry domain of the master physical controllers. Creature mind, before acquiring the ability to recognize divinity and worship deity, is the exclusive domain of the adjutant spirits. With the appearance of the spiritual response of the creature intellect, such created minds at once become super-minded, being instantly encircuited in the spirit cycles of the local universe mother spirit. The adjutant mind spirits are in no manner directly related to the diverse and highly spiritual function of the spirit of the personal presence of the divine minister, the Holy Spirit of the inhabited worlds, but they are functionally antecedent to and preparatory for the appearance of this very spirit in evolutionary man. The adjutants afford the universe mother spirit a varied contact with and control over the material living creatures of a local universe, but they do not repercuss in the Supreme Being when acting on pre-personality levels. Non-spiritual mind is either a spirit energy manifestation or a physical energy phenomenon. Even human mind, personal mind, has no survival qualities apart from spirit identification. Mind is a divinity bestowal, but it is not immortal when it functions without spirit insight, and when it is devoid of the ability to worship and crave survival. 6. Living forces. Life is both mechanistic and vitalistic, material and spiritual. Ever will Urantia physicists and chemists progress in their understanding of the protoplasmic forms of vegetable and animal life, but never will they be able to produce living organisms. Life is something different from all energy manifestations. Even the material life of physical creatures is not inherent in matter. Things material may enjoy an independent existence, but life springs only from life. Mind can be derived only from pre-existent mind. Spirit takes origin only from spirit ancestors. The creature may produce the forms of life, but only a creator personality or a creative force can supply the activating living spark. Life carriers can organize the material forms or physical patterns of living beings, but the spirit provides the initial spark of life and bestows the endowment of mind. Even the living forms of experimental life which the life carriers organize on their Salvington worlds are always devoid of reproductive powers. When the life formulas and the vital patterns are correctly assembled and properly organized, the presence of a life carrier is sufficient to initiate life. But all such living organisms are lacking in two essential attributes: mind endowment and reproductive powers. Animal mind and human mind are gifts of the local universe Mother Spirit, functioning through the 7 adjutant mind spirits, while creature ability to reproduce is the specific and personal impartation of the universe spirit to the ancestral life plasm inaugurated by the life carriers. When the life carriers have designed the patterns of life, after they have organized the energy systems, there must occur an additional phenomenon. The breath of life must be imparted to these lifeless forms. The sons of God can construct the forms of life, but it is the Spirit of God who really contributes the vital spark. And when the life thus imparted is spent, then again the remaining material body becomes dead matter. When the bestowed life is exhausted, the body returns to the bosom of the material universe from which it was borrowed by the life carriers to serve as a transient vehicle for that life endowment which they conveyed to such a visible association of energy matter. The life bestowed upon plants and animals by the life carriers does not return to the life carriers upon the death of plant or animal. The departing life of such a living thing possesses neither identity nor personality. It does not individually survive death. During its existence and the time of its sojourn in the body of matter, it has undergone a change. It has undergone energy evolution and survives only as a part of the cosmic forces of the universe. It does not survive as individual life. The survival of mortal creatures is wholly predicated on the evolvement of an immortal soul within the mortal mind. We speak of life as energy and as force, but it is really neither. Force energy is variously gravity responsive. Life is not. Pattern is also non-responsive to gravity, being a configuration of energies that have already fulfilled all gravity-responsive obligations. Life as such constitutes the animation of some pattern-configured or otherwise segregated system of energy, material, mindal, or spiritual. There are some things connected with the elaboration of life on the evolutionary planets which are not altogether clear to us. We fully comprehend the physical organization of the electrochemical formulas of the life carriers, but we do not wholly understand the nature and source of the life activation spark. We know that life flows from the Father through the Son and by the Spirit. It is more than possible that the master spirits are the sevenfold channel of the river of life, which is poured out upon all creation. But we do not comprehend the technique whereby the supervising master spirit participates in the initial episode of life bestowal on a new planet. The ancients of days, we are confident, also have some part in this inauguration of life on a new world, but we are wholly ignorant of the nature thereof. We do know that the universe Mother Spirit actually vitalizes the lifeless patterns and imparts to such activated plasm the prerogatives of organismal reproduction. We observe that these 3 are the levels of God the Sevenfold, sometimes designated as the supreme creators of time and space. But otherwise, we know little more than Urantia mortals, simply that concept is inherent in the Father, expression in the Son, and life realization in the Spirit.
Indicted by a veranda deck son stationed on Urantia as an observer, and acting in this capacity by request of the Melchizedek Chief of the Supervising Revelatory Corps.
Paper 37. Personalities of the Local Universe. At the head of all personality in Nebadon stands the Creator and Master Son, Michael, the Universe Father and Sovereign. Coordinate in divinity and complemental in creative attributes is the local universe Mother Spirit, the divine minister of Salvington. And these creators are in a very literal sense the Father, Son, and the Spirit Mother of all the native creatures of Nebadon. Preceding papers have dealt with the created orders of sonship. Succeeding narratives will portray the ministering spirits and the ascending orders of sonship. This paper is chiefly concerned with an intervening group, the Universe Aids, but it will also give brief consideration to certain of the higher spirits stationed in Nebadon and to certain of the orders of permanent citizenship in the local universe. 1. The Universe Aids. Many of the unique orders generally grouped in this category are unrevealed, but as presented in these papers, the Universe Aids include the following 7 orders. 1. Bright and morning stars. 2. Brilliant evening stars. 3. Archangels. 4. Most High Assistants. 5. High Commissioners. 6. Celestial Overseers. 7. Mansion World Teachers. Of the first order of universe aids, the bright and morning stars, there is just one in each local universe, and he is the firstborn of all creatures native to a local universe. The bright and morning star of our universe is known as Gabriel of Salvington. He is the chief executive of all Nebadon, functioning as the personal representative of the Sovereign Son and as spokesman for his creative consort. During the earlier times of Nebadon, Gabriel worked quite alone with Michael and the creative spirit. As the universe grew and administrative problems multiplied, he was provided with a personal staff of unrevealed assistants, and eventually this group was augmented by the creation of the Nebadon Corps of Evening Stars. 2. The Brilliant Evening Stars. These brilliant creatures were planned by the Melchizedeks and were then brought into being by the Creator Son and the Creative Spirit. They serve in many capacities, but chiefly as liaison officers of Gabriel, the local universe chief executive. One or more of these beings function as his representatives at the capital of every constellation and system in Nebadon. As chief executive of Nebadon, Gabriel is ex officio chairman of, or observer at, most of the Salvington conclaves, and as many as 1,000 of these are often in session simultaneously. The brilliant evening stars represent Gabriel on these occasions. He cannot be in 2 places at the same time, and these superangels compensate for this limitation. They perform an analogous service for the core of the Trinity teacher's sons. Though personally occupied with administrative duties, Gabriel maintains contact with all other phases of universe life and affairs through the brilliant evening stars. They always accompany him on his planetary tours and frequently go on special missions to the individual planets as his personal representatives. On such assignments, they have sometimes been known as the Angel of the Lord. They frequently go to Uversa to represent the bright and morning star before the courts and assemblies of the Ancients of Days, but they seldom journey beyond the confines of Orvanton. The brilliant evening stars are a unique twofold order, embracing some of created dignity and others of attained service. The Nebadon Corps of these superangels now numbers 13,641. There are 4,832 of created dignity, while 8,809 are ascendant spirits who have attained this goal of exalted service. Many of these ascendant evening stars started their universe careers as seraphim. Others have ascended from unrevealed levels of creature life. As an attainment goal, this high core is never closed to ascension candidates so long as a universe is not settled in light and life. Both types of brilliant evening stars are easily visible to Urantia personalities and certain types of supermortal material beings. The created beings of this interesting and versatile order possess a spirit force which can be manifested independently of their personal presence. The head of these superangels is Gavelia, the firstborn of this order in Nebadon. Since the return of Christ Michael from his triumphant bestowal on Urantia, Gavelia has been assigned to the ascendant mortal ministry, and for the last 1900 Urantia years, his associate, Galantia, has maintained headquarters on Jerusalem, where he spends about half of his time. Galantia is the first of the ascendant superangels to attain this high estate. No grouping or company organization of the brilliant evening stars exists other than their customary association in pairs on many assignments. They are not extensively assigned on missions pertaining to the ascendant career of mortals, but when thus commissioned, they never function alone. They always work in pairs, one a created being, the other an ascendant evening star. One of the high duties of the evening stars is to accompany the Avenal bestowal sons on their planetary missions, even as Gabriel accompanied Michael on his Urantia bestowal. The two attending superangels are the ranking personalities of such missions, serving as co-commanders of the archangels and all others assigned to these undertakings. It is the senior of these superangel commanders who, at the significant time and age, bids the Avenal bestowal son, "Be about your brother's business." Similar pairs of these superangels are assigned to the planetary core of Trinity teacher sons that functions to establish the post-bestowal or dawning spiritual age of an inhabited world. On such assignments, the evening stars serve as liaisons between the mortals of the realm and the invisible core of teacher sons. The worlds of the evening stars. The sixth group of 7 Salvington worlds and their 42 tributary satellites are assigned to the administration of the brilliant evening stars. The 7 primary worlds are presided over by the created orders of these superangels, while the tributary satellites are administered by ascendant evening stars. The satellites of the first 3 worlds are devoted to the schools of the teacher sons and the evening stars, dedicated to the spirit personalities of the local universe. The next 3 groups are occupied by similar joint schools devoted to the training of ascending mortals. The 7th world satellites are reserved for the triune deliberations of the teacher sons, the evening stars, and the finalators. During recent times, these superangels have been closely identified with the local universe work of the core of the finality, and they have long been associated with the teacher sons. There exists a liaison of tremendous power and import between the evening stars and the gravity messengers attached to the finalator working groups. The 7th primary world itself is reserved for those unrevealed matters which pertain to the future relationship that will obtain between the teacher sons, the finalators, and the evening stars, consequent upon the completed emergence of the superuniverse manifestation of the personality of God the Supreme. 3. The Archangels. Archangels are the offspring of the Creator Son and the Universe Mother Spirit. They are the highest type of high spirit being produced in large numbers in a local universe, and at the time of the last registry there were almost 800,000 in Nebadon. Archangels are one of the few groups of local universe personalities who are not normally under the jurisdiction of Gabriel. They are not in any manner concerned with the routine administration of the universe, being dedicated to the work of creature survival and to the furtherance of the ascending career of the mortals of time and space. While not ordinarily subject to the direction of the bright and morning star, the archangels do sometimes function by his authority. They also collaborate with others of the universe aids, such as the evening stars, as is illustrated by certain transactions depicted in the narrative of life transplantation on your world. The Archangel Corps of Nebadon is directed by the firstborn of this order, and in more recent times a divisional headquarters of the archangels has been maintained on Urantia. It is this unusual fact that soon arrests the attention of extra-Nebadon student visitors. Among their early observations of intra-universe transactions is the discovery that many ascendant activities of the brilliant evening stars are directed from the capital of a local system, Satania. On further examination, they discover that certain archangel activities are directed from a small and apparently insignificant inhabited world called Urantia. And then ensues the revelation of Michael's bestowal on Urantia and their immediately quickened interest in you and your lowly sphere. Do you grasp the significance of the fact that your lowly and confused planet has become a divisional headquarters for the universe administration and direction of certain archangel activities having to do with the Paradise Ascension scheme? This undoubtedly presages the future concentration of other ascendant activities on the bestowal world of Michael, and lends a tremendous and solemn import to the Master's personal promise, "I will come again." In general, the archangels are assigned to the service and ministry of the Avenal Order of Sonship, but not until they have passed through extensive preliminary training in all phases of the work of the various ministering spirits. A corps of 100 accompanies every Paradise bestowal son to an inhabited world, being temporarily assigned to him for the duration of such a bestowal. If the magisterial son should become temporary ruler of the planet, these archangels would act as the directing heads of all celestial life on that sphere. 2 senior archangels are always assigned as the personal aides of a Paradise Avenal on all planetary missions, whether involving judicial actions, magisterial missions, or bestowal incarnations. When this Paradise Son has finished the judgment of a realm and the dead are called to record, the so-called resurrection, it is literally true that the seraphic guardians of the slumbering personalities respond to the voice of the archangel. The roll call of a dispensation termination is promulgated by an attendant archangel. This is the archangel of the resurrection, sometimes referred to as the Archangel of Michael. The worlds of the archangels. The 7th group of the encircling Salvington worlds, with their associated satellites, is assigned to the archangels. Sphere number 1 and all of its 6 tributary satellites are occupied by the personality record keepers. This enormous corps of recorders busy themselves with keeping straight the record of each mortal of time, from the moment of birth up through the universe career, until such an individual either leaves Salvington for the super-universe regime or is blotted out of recorded existence by the mandate of the Ancients of Days. It is on these worlds that personality records and identification sureties are classified, filed, and preserved during that time which intervenes between mortal death and the hour of repersonalization, the resurrection from death. 4. Most High Assistants. The Most High Assistants are a group of volunteering beings of origin outside the local universe who are temporarily assigned as central and super-universe representatives to, or observers of, the local creations. Their number varies constantly, but is always far up in the millions. From time to time, we thus benefit from the ministry and assistance of such paradise origin beings as perfecters of wisdom, divine counselors, universal censors, inspired Trinity spirits, trinitized sons, solitary messengers, supernaphim, seconaphim, tertiaphim, and other gracious ministers, who sojourn with us for the purpose of helping our native personalities in the effort to bring all Nebadon into fuller harmony with the ideas of Orvanton and the ideals of paradise. Any of these beings may be voluntarily serving in Nebadon and hence be technically outside our jurisdiction. But when functioning by assignment, such personalities of the super and central universes are not wholly exempt from the regulations of the local universe of their sojourn, though they continue to function as representatives of the higher universes and to work in accordance with the instructions which constitute their mission in our realm. Their general headquarters is situated in the Salvington sector of the Union of Days, and they operate in Nebadon subject to the over-supervision of this ambassador of the Paradise Trinity. When serving in unattached groups, these personalities from the higher realms are usually self-directing, but when serving on request, they often voluntarily place themselves wholly under the jurisdiction of the supervising directors of the realms of assigned function. Most high assistants serve in local universe and in constellation capacities, but are not directly attached to the system or planetary governments. They may, however, function anywhere in the local universe and may be assigned to any phase of Nebadon activity: administrative, executive, educational, and others. Most of this corps is enlisted in assisting the Nebadon Paradise personalities, the Union of Days, the Creator Son, the Faithfuls of Days, the Magisterial Sons, and the Trinity Teacher Sons. Now and then, in the transaction of the affairs of a local creation, it becomes wise to withhold certain details, temporarily, from the knowledge of practically all of the native personalities of that local universe. Certain advanced plans and complex rulings are also better grasped and more fully understood by the more mature and far-seeing corps of Most High Assistants, and it is in such situations, and many others, that they are so highly serviceable to the universe rulers and administrators. 5. High Commissioners. The High Commissioners are spirit-fused ascendant mortals. They are not adjuster-fused. You quite well understand about the universe ascension career of a mortal candidate for adjuster fusion, that being the high destiny and prospect for all Urantia mortals since the bestowal of Christ Michael. But this is not the exclusive destiny of all mortals in the pre-bestowal ages of worlds like yours, and there is another type of world whose inhabitants are never permanently indwelt by thought adjusters. Such mortals are never permanently joined in union with a mystery monitor of paradise bestowal. Nevertheless, the adjusters do transiently indwell them, serving as guides and patterns for the duration of the life in the flesh. During this temporary sojourn, they foster the evolution of an immortal soul, just as in those beings with whom they hope to fuse. But when the mortal race is run, they take eternal leave of the creatures of temporary association. Surviving souls of this order attain immortality by eternal fusion with an individualized fragment of the spirit of the local universe Mother Spirit. They are not a numerous group, at least not in Nebadon. On the mansion worlds you will meet and fraternize with these spirit-fused mortals as they ascend the paradise path with you as far as Salvington, where they stop. Some of them may subsequently ascend to higher universe levels, but the majority will forever remain in the service of the local universe. As a class, they are not destined to attain paradise. Not being adjuster-fused, they never become finaliters, but they do eventually become enrolled in the local universe core of perfection. They have in spirit obeyed the Father's command, "Be you perfect." After attaining the Nebadon core of perfection, spirit-fused ascenders may accept assignment as universe aides, this being one of the avenues of continuing experiential growth which is open to them. Thus do they become candidates for commissions to the high service of interpreting the viewpoints of the evolving creatures of the material worlds to the celestial authorities of the local universe. The High Commissioners begin their service on the planets as race commissioners. In this capacity, they interpret the viewpoints and portray the needs of the various human races. They are supremely devoted to the welfare of the mortal races whose spokesmen they are, ever seeking to obtain for them mercy, justice, and fair treatment in all relationships with other peoples. Race commissioners function in an endless series of planetary crises and serve as the articulate expression of whole groups of struggling mortals. After long experience in problem-solving on the inhabited worlds, these race commissioners are advanced to the higher levels of function, eventually attaining the status of High Commissioners of and in the local universe. The last registration recorded slightly over 1.5 billion of these High Commissioners in Nebadon. These beings are not finaliters, but they are ascendant beings of long experience and of great service to their native realm. We invariably find these commissioners in all the tribunals of justice, from the lowest to the highest. Not that they participate in the proceedings of justice, but they do act as friends of the court, advising the presiding magistrates respecting the antecedents, environment, and inherent nature of those concerned in the adjudication. High Commissioners are attached to the various messenger hosts of space, and always to the ministering spirits of time. They are encountered on the programs of various universe assemblies, and these same mortal-wise commissioners are always attached to the missions of the sons of God to the worlds of space. Whenever fairness and justice require an understanding of how a contemplated policy or procedure would affect the evolutionary races of time, these commissioners are at hand to present their recommendations. They are always present to speak for those who cannot be present to speak for themselves. The worlds of the spirit-fused mortals. The 8th group of 7 primary worlds and tributary satellites in the Salvington Circuit are the exclusive possession of the spirit-fused mortals of Nebadon. Ascending adjuster-fused mortals are not concerned with these worlds except to enjoy many pleasant and profitable sojourns as the invited guests of the spirit-fused residents. Except for those few who attain Uversa and Paradise, these worlds are the permanent residents of the spirit-fused survivors. Such designed limitation of mortal ascent reacts to the good of the local universes by ensuring the retention of a permanent evolved population whose augmenting experience will continue to enhance the future stabilization and diversification of the local universe administration. These beings may not attain paradise, but they achieve an experiential wisdom in the mastery of Nebadon problems that utterly surpasses anything attained by the transient ascenders. And these surviving souls continue as unique combinations of the human and the divine, being increasingly able to unite the viewpoints of these two widely separate levels and to present such a dual viewpoint with ever-heightening wisdom. 6. Celestial Overseers. The Nebadon educational system is jointly administered by the Trinity Teacher Sons and the Melchizedek Teaching Corps, but much of the work designed to effect its maintenance and upbuilding is carried on by the Celestial Overseers. These beings are a recruited corps embracing all types of individuals connected with the scheme of educating and training the ascending mortals. There are upward of 3 million of them in Nebadon, and they are all volunteers who have qualified by experience to serve as educational advisors to the entire realm. From their headquarters on the Salvington worlds of the Melchizedeks, these overseers range the local universe as inspectors of the Nebadon school technique designed to affect the mind training and the spirit education of the ascending creatures. This training of mind and education of spirit is carried on from the worlds of human origin up through the system mansion worlds and the other spheres of progress associated with Jerusalem, on the 70 socializing realms attached to Edentia, and on the 490 spheres of spirit progress encircling Salvington. On the universe headquarters itself are numerous Melchizedek schools, the colleges of the universe sons, the seraphic universities, and the schools of the Teacher Sons and the Union of Days. Every possible provision is made to qualify the various personalities of the universe for advancing service and improving function. The entire universe is one vast school. The methods employed in many of the higher schools are beyond the human concept of the art of teaching truth, but this is the keynote of the whole educational system. Character acquired by enlightened experience. The teachers provide the enlightenment. The universe station and the ascender status afford the opportunity for experience. The wise utilization of these two augments character. Fundamentally, the Nebadon educational system provides for your assignment to a task and then affords you opportunity to receive instruction as to the ideal and divine method of best performing that task. You are given a definite task to perform, and at the same time you are provided with teachers who are qualified to instruct you in the best method of executing your assignment. The divine plan of education provides for the intimate association of work and instruction. We teach you how best to execute the things we command you to do. The purpose of all this training and experience is to prepare you for admission to the higher and more spiritual training spheres of the super-universe. Progress within a given realm is individual, but transition from one phase to another is usually by classes. The progression of eternity does not consist solely in spiritual development. Intellectual acquisition is also a part of universal education. The experience of the mind is broadened equally with the expansion of the spiritual horizon. Mind and spirit are afforded like opportunities for training and advancement. But in all this superb training of mind and spirit, you are forever free from the handicaps of mortal flesh. No longer must you constantly referee the conflicting contentions of your divergent spiritual and material natures. At last you are qualified to enjoy the unified urge of a glorified mind long since divested of primitive animalistic trends towards things material. Before leaving the universe of Nebadon, most Urantia mortals will be afforded opportunity to serve for a longer or shorter time as members of the Nebadon Corps of Celestial Overseers. 7. Mansion World Teachers. The Mansion World Teachers are recruited and glorified cherubim. Like most other instructors in Nebadon, they are commissioned by the Melchizedeks. They function in most of the educational enterprises of the Urantia life, and their number is quite beyond the comprehension of mortal mind. As an attainment level of cherubim and sanabim, the Mansion World Teachers will receive further consideration in the next paper, while as teachers playing an important part in the Urantia life, they will be more extensively discussed in the paper of that name. 8. Higher Spirit Orders of Assignment. Besides the power centers and the physical controllers, certain of the higher origin spirit beings of the family of the Infinite Spirit are of permanent assignment to the local universe. Of the higher spirit orders of the family of the Infinite Spirit, the following are so assigned. The solitary messengers, when functionally attached to the local universe administration, render invaluable service to us in our efforts to overcome the handicaps of time and space. When they are not thus assigned, we of the local universes have absolutely no authority over them, but even then these unique beings are always willing to help us with the solution of our problems and with the execution of our mandates. Audiobook is the name of the tertiary universe circuit supervisor stationed in our local universe. He is concerned only with spirit and Urantia circuits, not with those under the jurisdiction of the power directors. It was he who isolated Urantia at the time of the Caligastia betrayal of the planet during the testing seasons of the Lucifer Rebellion. In sending greetings to the mortals of Urantia, he expresses pleasure in the anticipation of your sometime restoration to the universe circuits of his supervision. The Nebadon Census Director, Salsatia, maintains headquarters within the Gabriel sector of Salvington. He is automatically cognizant of the birth and death of will and currently registers the exact number of will creatures functioning in the local universe. He works in close association with the personality recorders domiciled on the record worlds of the archangels. An associate inspector is resident on Salvington. He is the personal representative of the Supreme Executive of Orvanton. His associates, the assigned sentinels in the local systems, are also representatives of the Supreme Executive of Orvanton. The Universal Conciliators are the traveling courts of the universes of time and space, functioning from the evolutionary worlds up through every section of the local universe and on beyond. These referees are registered on Uversa. The exact number operating in Nebadon is not of record, but I estimate that there are in the neighborhood of 100 million conciliating commissions in our local universe. Of the technical advisors, the legal minds of the realm, we have our quota, about 1/2 billion. These beings are the living and circulating experiential law libraries of all space. Of the celestial recorders, the ascendant seraphim, we have in Nebadon 75. These are the senior or supervising recorders. The advancing students of this order in training number almost 4 billion. The ministry of the 70 billion Urantia companions in Nebadon is described in those narratives dealing with the transition planets of the pilgrims of time. Each universe has its own native angelic core. Nevertheless, there are occasions on which it is very helpful to have the assistance of those higher spirits of origin outside the local creation. Supernathim perform certain rare and unique services. The present chief of Urantia Seraphim is a primary Supernathim of Paradise. The reflective Seconathim are encountered wherever the super-universe personnel is functioning, and a great many Tertiathim are of temporary service as most high assistants. 9. Permanent citizens of the local universe. As with the super and central universes, the local universe has its orders of permanent citizenship. These include the following created types. 1. Susatia. 2. Univitatia. 3. Material sons. 4. Midway creatures. These natives of the local creation, together with the spirit-fused ascenders and the Spiranga, who are otherwise classified, constitute a relatively permanent citizenship. These orders of beings are by and large neither ascending nor descending. They are all experiential creatures, but their enlarging experience continues to be available to the universe on their level of origin. While this is not wholly true of the Adamic sons and midway creatures, it is relatively true of these orders. The Susatia. These marvelous beings reside and function as permanent citizens on Salvington, the headquarters of this local universe. They are the brilliant offspring of the Creator Son and Creative Spirit, and are closely associated with the ascendant citizens of the local universe, the spirit-fused mortals of the Nebadon core of perfection. The Univitatia. Each of the 100 constellation headquarters clusters of architectural spheres enjoys the continuous ministry of a residential order of beings known as the Univitatia. These children of the Creator Son and the Creative Spirit constitute the permanent population of the constellation headquarters worlds. They are non-reproducing beings existing on a plane of life about halfway between the semi-material status of the material sons, domiciled on the system headquarters, and the more definitely spiritual plane of the spirit-fused mortals and the Susatia of Salvington. But the Univitatia are not Urantia beings. They accomplish for ascending mortals during the traversal of the constellation spheres what the Havona natives contribute to the pilgrim spirits passing through the central creation. The material sons of God. When a creative liaison between the Creator Son and the universe representative of the infinite spirit, the universe mother spirit, has completed its cycle, when no more offspring of the combined nature are forthcoming, then does the Creator Son personalize in dual form his last concept of being, thus finally confirming his own and original dual origin. In and of himself, he then creates the beautiful and superb sons and daughters of the material order of universe sonship. This is the origin of the original Adam and Eve of each local system of Nebadon. They are a reproducing order of sonship, being created male and female. Their progeny function as the relatively permanent citizens of a system capital, though some are commissioned as planetary atoms. On a planetary mission, the material son and daughter are commissioned to found the Adamic race of that world, a race designed eventually to amalgamate with the mortal inhabitants of that sphere. Planetary atoms are both descending and ascending suns, but we ordinarily class them as ascending. The midway creatures. In the early days of most inhabited worlds, certain superhuman but materialized beings are of assignment, but they usually retire upon the arrival of the planetary atoms. The transactions of such beings and the efforts of the material suns to improve the evolutionary races often result in the appearance of a limited number of creatures who are difficult to classify. These unique beings are often midway between the material suns and the evolutionary creatures, hence their designation, midway creatures. In a comparative sense, these midwayers are the permanent citizens of the evolutionary worlds. From the early days of the arrival of a planetary prince to the far distant time of the settling of the planet in light and life, they are the only group of intelligent beings to remain continuously on the sphere. On Urantia, the midway ministers are in reality the actual custodians of the planet. They are, practically speaking, the citizens of Urantia. Mortals are indeed the physical and material inhabitants of an evolutionary world, but you are also short-lived. You tarry on your nativity planet such a short time. You are born, live, die, and pass on to other worlds of evolutionary progression. Even the superhuman beings who serve on the planets as celestial ministers are of transient assignment. Few of them are long attached to a given sphere. The midway creatures, however, provide continuity of planetary administration in the face of ever-changing celestial ministries and constantly shifting mortal inhabitants. Throughout all of this never-ceasing changing and shifting, the midway creatures remain on the planet uninterruptedly carrying on their work. In like manner, all divisions of the administrative organization of the local universes and superuniverses have their more or less permanent populations, inhabitants of citizenship status. As Urantia has its midwayers, Jerusalem, your system capital, has the material sons and daughters. Edentia, your constellation headquarters, has the Univitatia, while the citizens of Salvington are twofold, the created Susatia and the evolved spirit-fused mortals. The administrative worlds of the minor and major sectors of the superuniverses do not have permanent citizens, but the Uversa headquarters spheres are continuously fostered by an amazing group of beings known as the Abundanters, the creation of the unrevealed agents of the Ancients of Days and the 7 reflective spirits resident on the capital of Orvanton. These residential citizens on Uversa are at present administering the routine affairs of their world under the immediate supervision of the Uversa core of the sun-fused mortals. Even Havona has its native beings, and the central Isle of Light and Life is the home of the various groups of paradise citizens. 10. Other local universe groups. Besides the seraphic and mortal orders, who will be considered in later papers, there are numerous additional beings concerned in the maintenance and perfecting of such a gigantic organization as the universe of Nebadon, which even now has more than 3 million inhabited worlds, with 10 million in prospect. The various Nebadon types of life are much too numerous to be catalogued in this paper, but there are 2 unusual orders that function extensively on the 647,591 architectural spheres of the local universe that may be mentioned. The Spiranga are the spirit offspring of the bright and morning star and the father Melchizedek. They are exempt from personality termination, but are not evolutionary or ascending beings. Neither are they functionally concerned with the evolutionary ascension regime. They are the spirit helpers of the local universe, executing the routine spirit tasks of Nebadon. The Spornegia, the architectural headquarters worlds of the local universe, are real worlds, physical creations. There is much work connected with their physical upkeep, and herein we have the assistance of a group of physical creatures called Spornegia. They are devoted to the care and culture of the material phases of these headquarters worlds, from Jerusalem to Salvington. Spornagia are neither spirits nor persons. They are an animal order of existence, but if you could see them, you would agree that they seem to be perfect animals. The various courtesy colonies are domiciled on Salvington and elsewhere. We especially profit from the ministry of the celestial artisans on the constellations, and benefit from the activities of the reversion directors who operate chiefly on the capitals of the local systems. Always there is attached to the universe service a corps of ascending mortals, including the glorified midway creatures. These ascenders, after attaining Salvington, are used in an almost endless variety of activities in the conduct of universe affairs. From each level of achievement, these advancing mortals reach back and down to extend a helping hand to their fellows who follow them in the upward climb. Such mortals of temporary sojourn on Salvington are assigned on requisition to practically all corps of celestial personalities as helpers, students, observers, and teachers. There are still other types of intelligent life concerned with the administration of a local universe, but the plan of this narrative does not provide for the further revelation of these orders of creation. Enough of the life and administration of this universe is being herewith portrayed to afford the mortal mind a grasp of the reality and grandeur of the survival existence. Further experience in your advancing careers will increasingly reveal these interesting and charming beings. This narrative cannot be more than a brief outline of the nature and work of the manifold personalities who throng the universes of space, administering these creations as enormous training schools, schools wherein the pilgrims of time advance from life to life and from world to world until they are lovingly dispatched from the borders of the universe of their origin to the higher educational regime of the superuniverse, and thence on to the spirit-training worlds of Havona, and eventually to paradise and the high destiny of the finaliters, the eternal assignment on missions not yet revealed to the universes of time and space.
Dictated by a brilliant evening star of Nebadon, number 1146 of the Created Corps.